Hey guys, it's such a nice day. I decided to come outside and read here. See how hopefully you guys were able to get outside and play for a little while today safely in your yard and get to enjoy some of the nice weather finally. So when we left off, Omri ended up getting into a little bit of a tussle with Patrick over stuff. So anyhow, let's see what ends up happening. I think they had smashed the meat that Little Bear was cooking, if I recall correctly. His mother was dishing up a nice hot stew. Can I have a tiny bit of that, Mum? Just a little bit in a spoon. It's for a game we're playing. His mother obligingly gave him a big spoonful. Don't let it drip, she said. Does Patrick want to stay for supper? I don't know, I'll ask, said Omri. Were you two fighting up there? I heard thumps. No, not really. It was just that he wanted to do something that Omri stopped dead, as if frozen to the ground. He might have been frozen. His face went so cold. Patrick was up there, with the cupboard, with 2 biscuit tinfuls of plastic figures. Alone! Omri ran. He usually won the egg and spoon race at the school sports, which was just as well. It's hard enough to carry an egg on a spoon running along a flat field. It's a great deal harder to carry a tablespoon full of boiling hot stew steady while you rush up a flight of stairs. If most of it was still there when he got there, it was more by good luck than by skill, because he was hardly noticing the spoon at all. All he could think of is what must be happening in his room, and how much more of it would happen if he didn't hurry. He burst in through the door and saw exactly what he dreaded. Patrick bent over the cupboard, just turning the key to open it. What? Omri gasped out between panting breaths, but he had no need to go on. Patrick, without turning around, opened the cupboard and reached in. Then he did turn. He was gazing into his cupped hands with eyes like huge marbles. He slowly extended his hands towards Omri and whispered, "Look!" Omri, stepping forward, had just enough time to feel intensely glad that at least Patrick had not put a whole handful of figures in, but had only changed one. But which? He leaned over and drew back with a gasp. It was the cowboy and his horse. The horse was in an absolute panic. It was scrambling around wildly in the cup of Patrick's hands, snorting and pawing, up 1 minute and down on its side next, stirrups and reins flying. It was a beautiful horse, snow white with a long mane and tail, and the sight of it acting so frightened gave Omri heart pains. As for the cowboy, he was too busy dodging the horse's flying feet and jumping out of the way when it fell to notice about his surroundings. He probably thought he was caught in an earthquake. Omri and Patrick watched, spellbound, as the little man in his plaid shirt, buckskin trousers, high-heeled leather boots, and big hat scrambled frantically up the side of Patrick's right hand and, dodging through the space between his index finger and thumb, swung himself clear of the horse, only to look down and find he was dangling over empty space. His hat came off and fell slowly like a leaf down to the floor, so infinitely far below. The cowboy gave a yell and scrambled with his feet to the back of Patrick's hand, hanging on for dear life to the ridge beside his thumbnail. Hold your hand still, Omri commanded Patrick, who, in his excitement, was jerking them nervously about. There was a moment of stillness. The horse stood up, trembling all over, prancing about with terror. Besides his hooves was some tiny black thing. Omri peered closer. It was the pistol. The cowboy had now recovered a little. He scrambled back through the finger gap and said something to the horse that sounded like, "Whoa back, steady fella." Then he slid down and grabbed the reins, holding them just below the horse's nose. He patted its face. That seemed to calm it. Then, looking around swiftly, but not apparently noticing the enormous faces hanging over him, he reached cautiously down and picked the pistol up from between the horse's hooves. "Whoa there, Stan." Omri watched like a person hypnotized. He wanted to cry out to Patrick that it was a real gun, but somehow he couldn't. He He could only think that the sound of his voice would throw the horse once more into a panic, and that the horse or man would get hurt. Instead, he watched while the cowboy pointed the gun in various directions warily. Then he lowered it. Still holding the reins, he moved until he could press his hand against Patrick's skin. Then he let his eyes move upward toward the curved fingers just level with the top of his head. "What the doggone heck?" he said. "Sure looks like a great big, what am I talking about? It can't be. Heck, it just ain't possible." But the more he looked, the more certain he must have become that he was indeed in a pair of cupped hands. And finally, after scratching his gingery head for a moment, he ventured to look right up past the fingers, and then, of course, he saw Patrick's face looking at him. There was a terrified moment when he couldn't move. Then he raised the pistol in a flash. "Patrick, shut your eyes!" Bang! It was only a little bang, but it was a real bang, and a puff of real gun-smelling smoke appeared. Patrick shouted with pain and surprise and would have dropped the pair if Omri hadn't put his hand underneath to help him catch them. Patrick's own hand clapped itself to his cheek. "Ow! Ow! He got me!" Patrick screamed. Omri was not much bothered about Patrick at that moment. He was furious with him and very anxious about the little man and his horse. Quickly he put them down on the bed, saying like the cowboy himself, "Steady. Whoa, I won't hurt you. It's okay." "Ow!" Patrick kept yelling. "It hurts. Ow!" "Serves you right. I warned you," said Omri. Then he felt sorry and said, "Let's have a look." Gingerly, Patrick took his hand down. A drop of blood had smeared on his cheek, and by peering very close, Omri could see something very like a bee's stinger embedded in his skin. "Hang on, I see it. I'll squeeze it out." "Ow!" A quick squeeze between his thumbnails and the almost invisible speck of black metal, which had only just penetrated the skin and popped out. He shot me," Patrick got out again in a shocked voice. "I told you. My Indian stuck a knife in my finger," said Omri, not to be outdone. "I think we ought to put him back. Your cowboy, I mean, of course, not my Indian." "Put him back where?" Omri explained how the cupboard could change him back to plastic again, but Patrick wasn't having any of that. "Oh, no, I want him. He's terrific. Look at him now." Patrick feasted his eyes admiring on the little cowboy, who, ignoring the giants, I'm going to just show you guys a picture real quick. There's a picture of Patrick with having gotten hit in the face, and then you can see the cowboy and the Indian, the cowboy and the horse in the one. It looks like the cowboy is in Patrick's hand, and the horse is in Omri's hand. So let's see. Ignoring the giants, whom he clearly thought must have imagined was doggedly dragging his horse across Omri's quilt, as if he were wading through the dunes of some infinite pale blue desert. Omri reached him determinedly, but Patrick stepped into his path. "Don't you touch him. I bought him. I changed him. He's mine." "You bought him for me. You said you didn't want him." "Well, the cupboard's mine, and I told you not to use it." "And so what if I did? Anyway, it's done. He's alive now, and I'm keeping him. I'll bash you right in if you try to take him from me. Wouldn't you bash me if I took your Indian?" Omri was silent. That reminded him. Where was Little Bear? He looked around, and he soon spotted him at the other side of the room, busy with his paints. Some beautiful, minute designs showing turtles, herons, and beavers, mainly in red and yellow, had appeared on the side of the teepee Omri had made. As Omri crouched beside him to admire them, Little Bear, without looking at him, said, "You bring food? I very soon die if not eat." Okay, I'm going to go ahead and leave off right there. We've got, how many more pages in chapter 8 here? We get about 3 or 4 more pages. We'll power through those tomorrow and start chapter 9. But for right now, I'm going to leave it right there. Hope you guys have a wonderful night. Stay safe. We'll see you later. Bye.